Hey everyone, it's Jordan Robertson with Benzinga. Joining me today is Doug Jermasek, Executive Vice President of Corporate Strategy at UNCY. How are you, Doug?
I'm doing great, thanks.
This week, UNCY announced positive results from its pivotal bioequivalence trial for Renazorb. Why should investors be excited?
That's a great place to start. There are several reasons why the positive readout of the data from this study are so monumental for Unicycive and our investigational new drug candidate, Renazorb. First, as a relatively new public company, this marks the successful completion of our first clinical trial. Hats off to the tenacious efforts of our clinical operations team here at Unicycive. This is a small team, but they've shown the executional ability to accomplish big things with hopefully many successes to come. But more to the point, positive results from this pivotal bioequivalence trial satisfy the key requirements that we've gained agreement with FDA on to support the filing of the Renazorb NDA, putting us one step closer to being able to get this promising medicine to the patients who need it.
Now, Doug, one thing that potential investors ask is just showing bioequivalence enough to convince doctors to prescribe Renazorb or not?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think people fully understand the implications and advantages of a 505(b)(2) regulatory filing. Think of it this way, the active ingredient in Renazorb is lanthanum, and FDA has already approved another lanthanum-based phosphate binder called Fosrenol, which is referred to as the reference-listed drug in this type of filing. By demonstrating bioequivalence between Renazorb and Fosrenol, we establish a bridge to all of the clinical efficacy and safety data supporting FDA's approval of Fosrenol. To put that into perspective, this relatively small bioequivalence study in 75 healthy volunteers bridges to over 2,300 patients in 5 separate randomized controlled trials that establish the clinical efficacy of lanthanum in CKD patients on dialysis.
Understood, but aren't you then saying that Renazorb is just the same as Fosrenol?
Yes and no, but mostly no. The reason that we say that Renazorb, if approved, has the potential to be best in class is because it leverages the proven phosphate binding potency of lanthanum. But through our patented nanoparticle technology, we're able to create a much smaller pill that's swallowed with water instead of having to be chewed. So there are clear advantages over Fosrenol, but our strategy isn't to compete with Fosrenol. The real opportunity is to reduce the excessive pill burden that patients endure with the market leader, which is sevelamer. In a study published in the American Journal of Kidney Disease, the phosphate binding capacity of lanthanum was compared to sevelamer carbonate. This study showed that one 1,000 milligram tablet of lanthanum bound the same amount of phosphate as 6 tablets of sevelamer. So no, this is not a me-too drug. We know from extensive market research that pill burden and poor patient compliance is the #1 unmet need in this billion-dollar-plus market. If approved, Renazorb has the potential to dramatically reduce patient pill burden compared to the current standard of care.
Now, Doug, it's been a roller coaster ride for Arladex, but it looks like FDA may approve tenapanor as a new competitor in the hyperphosphatemia space. Is this a threat to Renazorb?
Well, first let me say that the potential approval of tenapanor is good news for dialysis patients. As I've said before, at this very moment, 3/4 of U.S. dialysis patients have a serum phosphorus level above the target set by the guidelines. So elevated serum phosphorus exposes these patients to a higher risk of death and hospitalization. So new options like tenapanor and Renazorb are sorely needed. As your question refers to, last month FDA held an advisory committee meeting on tenapanor where the committee voted in favor of approving tenapanor. It's important to note that more committee members voted in favor of an approval in combination with a phosphate binder than as a monotherapy. The reason for this is that tenapanor's treatment effect as monotherapy was deemed to be only modest by FDA reviewers. So I think it's fair to assume that if it's approved, the vast majority of tenapanor utilization will be in combination with a phosphate binder. And since the key value proposition of tenapanor to the market is its potential to reduce pill burden, it's only logical to conclude that the best way to fulfill that promise is in combination with a phosphate binder that also has a low pill burden. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? As I've already explained, Renazorb is the phosphate binder that offers the lowest volume pill burden. So to sum things up, Renazorb is likely to be a much more effective monotherapy than tenapanor, but together the two make a potentially very attractive combo therapy that uses two distinct mechanisms of action to control phosphorus with a much lower pill burden than the current standard of care.
So that all sounds great, but access and reimbursement for new drugs are significant barriers for drug companies these days. How are patients to afford two expensive new drugs?
I can't disagree with you about the challenges of access and reimbursement, but in this case, there may be some good news on the horizon. According to the most recently published final rule for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services program for dialysis payments, drugs for the treatment of hyperphosphatemia, which are currently provided to patients by for-profit insurance companies, are set to be included in the dialysis bundle in 2025 and will be paid for directly by the government. This change will eliminate the restrictions and high out-of-pocket costs that many dialysis patients currently face, thereby expanding access to this class of drugs and reducing health disparities to disadvantaged communities. We view this as a welcome change for dialysis patients and one that creates a unique opportunity for our investigational drug Renazorb that will take place concurrently with the anticipated launch of our drug.
Speaking of that, you're the one leading the commercial planning for Renazorb. What's your strategy?
Now, that's a question that's in my comfort zone because commercializing breakthrough drugs has been my career passion. To start, my fervent belief is that good medicine makes for good business. Put another way, when we take care of the patient, the business tends to take care of itself. So for Unicycive, that means choosing the commercial strategy for Renazorb that gets our product innovation to the greatest number of patients that can benefit from it. Look, I've commercialized some very successful products in the renal disease space, and I'm confident that I can do the same thing here at Unicycive. But I also believe that a good dose of humility is advisable here. It's quite possible that the maximal value of Renazorb may be created in the hands of someone else, someone with an existing commercial infrastructure and reputation in the nephrology space. I fully expect that we will find such a partner for the US market, just like we were able to find in China with Lee's Pharmaceuticals, and we are in active discussions with potential partners in Europe and other Asian countries. In the meantime, we'll begin forming a small commercial team to create awareness and shape the market for Renazorb. At the right time, if the right partner and favorable deal terms emerge, then fantastic, we've accomplished our objective. In the event that the right partner and deal terms do not emerge, we're preparing an innovative and efficient go-to-market plan leveraging internal and external resources to deliver this promising treatment to patients who need it.
Amazing. Appreciate all the insights here today, Doug. I hope to have you back real soon.
Thank you. Thank you.